Hey, this is Sal.
And this is Val,
host of the HREBA Show, Home Ownership, Hear It From the Experts.
Broadcasting live each week on Tuesdays at 2 to 3 p.m. from the Fishbowl Radio Network studios at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas.
Log on to hear from industry experts such as realtors, loan officers, title agents, and other real estate-related professionals who will provide you important information if you're looking to buy your first home or if you're looking to sustain your current home.
So be sure to log on each week on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. to catch the HREBA Show.
You're listening to the HREBA Show, Home Ownership, Hear It From the Experts, live from Fishbowl Radio Network at Globe Life Park, Arlington, Texas, the American Dream City. I'm your host, Salvador Villalobos. Co-hosting with me today is...
Good afternoon, Sal. I'm Val Garcia.
Good afternoon, Val.
I'm excited about today's show. Today's a good one.
It is a good one. And I'm a little confused because you're usually sitting over there and now you're over here. So
I know, well, it's getting closer to the door, just in case.
Today, we'll be talking about... private insurance adjusters. What is a private insurance adjuster and how can they help us when we're making a claim? And we're very proud to introduce TJ Ware, CEO of Paradise Claims, and Matthew McDaniels, private insurance adjuster as well. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Good. So we're going to start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's TJ Ware, and I founded Paradise Claims about a little bit over 3 years ago after I had sold a roofing and electrical contracting business here in North Texas. And a public adjuster, technically it's called a public adjuster, you're exactly right. It is a private adjuster, which is probably actually a more descriptive way to say it, because it's an insurance adjuster that works directly for the property owner. So we represent their interests. We go in, we document, we estimate, and then we negotiate a settlement on behalf of the property owner. So because we have a fiduciary interest for that property owner, whereas the adjuster sent up an insurance carrier has a fiduciary responsibility to their employer, the carrier.
So why is that important to know?
So naturally, we're going to look out for the best interest of our client. And
Right.
because of that, oftentimes the settlement amounts that we are able to negotiate are significantly higher.
So plus for the homeowner.
You know, when you have a disaster and an insurance claim, you want to make sure you've got plenty of money to restore your home to be at least as good as it was before. And in like the scenario here lately with the pipe burst claims and here in North Texas, a lot of people, maybe 3 rooms were destroyed and they worry, hey, how am I going to be able to pay for all of this? Is my insurance going to pay for it? And insurance adjusters for the carrier, they only pay for the damage that they physically see.
Right.
So we make sure that we come in, we document everything. That way they're able to get their entire interior remodeled if it was affected by the water.
All right. So a lot of great news right there for our homeowners. And Matt, what do you do? Tell us a little bit.
I work with TJ, so I'm
All
one
right.
of the public adjusters. I'm sort of the chief operations officer there at Paradise. Worked with TJ for the last 2 years or so. TJ touched on the fiduciary interest in a public or, like he said, a private insurance adjuster is a great way to think about it. The term is a public insurance adjuster. Having the insurance company come and write it all up on their own is a little bit like having the IRS come in and do your taxes. You'd like to think they'd do everything above board and by the book, but not necessarily. They're going to have a conflict of interest and try to make things come out as cheaply as they can. The claim we were just discussing a moment ago between our mutual connection,
Right.
how we met and
Exactly.
how we're on the show today. About 7 or 8 months ago, the claim he's working with was worth about $3,000. That's what the insurance company was offering. And we're in the final stretch of communication back and forth with the insurance company, pushing it just over $100,000. It's going to land around $103,000, $105,000. So roughly $100,000 increase.
Wait. 3,000 to 100,000?
Yeah, absolutely.
Increase? Wow, that's incredible.
So
I'll tell you, Matt and I are actually working together on a large commercial claim. Our focus is multifamily and commercial property insurance claims. So we've got one where they were going to pay like $300,000, which was going to be below the deductible. It's a large shopping center, and it looks like now we're going to settle it out just north of $7 million for the damage from the hurricane there. So it's oftentimes a very big difference.
So let me just summarize. A public insurance adjuster works on behalf and for the homeowner.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Homeowner or
And-
property owner.
Or property owner. And you're looking for ways to maximize the money that they're entitled to, because sometimes most of the times or all the times, the insurance company is sending their own adjuster who has a fiduciary responsibility to the insurance company to find the most inexpensive way to repair it or make it most as whole as it could be. Is that correct?
That's pretty accurate, I think,
All right.
to categorize it like that. But in a large disaster scenario, what people don't realize is that the majority of the insurance adjusters that are sent out by the insurance companies, they may have been working in retail the previous month. They took a licensing course online and they were sent out to look at a property. And so even if they're not always trying to minimize the claim, they just don't know what to look for and understand the proper rebuild costs. And there's nobody really fact checking them usually. So that's why 87% of insurance claims go uncontested. And when a public adjuster is involved, oftentimes you see an increase. On the low end, it's usually 30 to 50%. And on the high end, obviously it's several hundred or 1,000%, because you saw how that claim went from that very small number to obviously a much larger number.
So normally when an insurance company comes out, sends their adjuster, and they get you guys set up and say, hey, let's just put a monetary value. Say it's $20,000 worth of damage that needs to be fixed. Once your construction guys get in there and start working, and then they start adding on and adding on, the difference is normally paid by the consumer, because the insurance company doesn't always want to go back and say, well, we didn't see that. That could have happened after the fact.
That's very true. Potentially the property owner could have to come out of pocket for repairs. And so we come in to make sure that doesn't happen. And we only charge, like, if they've already gotten some money from the insurance company and we come in, we will not charge them anything unless we secure an additional settlement. So we do work on a contingency. That way it's really very little, if no risk, to the property owner.
Thanks for answering my next question. No, just kidding. No, that's great. So you're saying most insurance adjusters may have been working doing something else, and now they took a licensing class, and now they're the experts, which they're really not at that point. They've taken a class and have very limited experience. So what does a public insurance adjuster need? Is there any education, licensing? What is the requirements?
First, let me clarify. During a large catastrophe like
Right.
a hurricane or something like that, when they have to expand their workforce so quickly, you do see a lot of unqualified
Okay.
people. Your average insurance adjuster that works daily claims should be a qualified professional.
Right.
There's not a lot of education requirement, but there's a course that we take and some testing, a bond requirement. So just because somebody is a public adjuster and has the license doesn't really mean that they have a lot of qualification or knowledge of the construction process or the software and estimating that's required to go into it. I had come from the construction background, so I just happened to have a lot of that knowledge already. I had to learn the insurance policy indemnification side of it, and that's where Matthew really specializes. He's dove very deep into interpreting policies and understanding those coverages.
I know he was telling me last time we spoke regarding insurances for business owners, where it didn't necessarily have to be an issue with the property itself, but because of the pandemic, they may have had a clause in there. So kudos for you for really digging into those claims, because if I look at it, when I take a new app, I don't read anything. I'm just like, accept, right? That's what most people do with their claims. There's just so much legalese that they don't understand. So thank you for that. So how do we know that somebody's qualified? Is there a department that we reach out to? Is there some website? How do we?
So it's kind of challenging to vet a public adjuster. I would ask for references and see what organizations they're a part of. Some can be a good thing. Some may not be a great thing. There are some organizations that differ in opinion from others. I know that we're an active part of the American Policyholder Association. I'm actually a board advisor for the American Policyholder Association, and I'm also a board advisor for the American Adjuster Association. So generally, if you will find somebody within those networks or that's part of a large organization, they will be vetted. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be great at what they do. So I would say, feel free to interview them, ask them for some evidence of their success in the past. And the biggest issue sometimes with people in our profession is communication. You can hand a claim off to somebody like this and not hear back for 6 or 7 months. So you want to make sure that they have the operational structure in place to be able to process these claims.
All right. And do you also vet a public adjuster by going to the Better Business Bureau?
You can. It's such a niche industry that, to be honest, okay, so there are 53,000 licensed insurance adjusters in the state of Texas that work for the insurance companies.
Oh.
There are 1,000 licensed public adjusters. Probably 200 to 300 of those live and work in Texas, and that's supposed to represent 7.4 million households and millions of businesses. There's a shortage of us. So we have had to work harder to vet our own customers than the customer generally has to work to vet us.
All right.
Maybe, unfortunately, there is a bit of a market need there.
All right.
So for our people at home, they need you guys to come out. They give you guys a call. What should they expect when y'all get there? Like, what do they need to know y'all are coming to do?
Yeah, so on the face of it, it's going to look very similar to what their adjuster probably did already. And just to insert it at this point, we'll work a claim from initial filing, and oftentimes it's better if we do. So your first contact to us can be when you realize you have an issue. We'll be able to file the claim from the initial get-go and usually achieve even better result in that case. But say you filed the claim, had the adjuster come out, it's going to look very similar. We're going to show up with cameras, various measuring tools, except we're going to be there 2 or 3 times longer. We're going to interview you longer and more in depth regarding the things you've noticed about the home. We're going to probably have more tools with us depending on the type of loss. We'll have moisture meters, infrared cameras to see where moisture is behind walls. Like TJ said a minute ago, the adjuster they send is going to be looking for the damage he can see with his eyes. I will pay you money if you have an initial inspection appointment with an insurance company adjuster, somebody who comes in a shirt that says Allstate or a shirt that says State Farm, and they have an infrared camera or a moisture meter with them. The insurance company usually is simply not interested in doing the deep investigation. What that then is going to result in is some communication back and forth and developing a proof of loss package, an estimate of damages, photos, some documentation for you to fill out. We're telling the story. We're building the package, building the story for the insurance company, explaining every last possible detail and making sure that it's what you know to be true about the loss and the facts, because it's your home or your business, and get that presented to the insurance company.
So there is a lot of homeowners out there, and especially in our community, that will be told, "Hey, this is what we found from an insurance company. This is what we found. This was the cost to get fixed. You do it." Some y'all's company comes out, y'all look at it and go, "Hey, your damage is more extensive." A lot of times in our community, we're not apt to sit there and argue with the insurance company. Is that something you guys do on the behalf of your client?
Absolutely. So from that point, we'll take on the entire burden of the claim. We handle all of the negotiation, communication back and forth with the insurance company, so that it takes the burden off of you.
So is that an extra charge?
No, that's completely part of the whole process. That's why you would hire it's very, very much like having a real estate agent working for you. They're handling all the paperwork, making sure you might have to sign some things here and there, come in to complete some paperwork here and there, but you've got somebody on your team making sure your interests are looked out for and handling all of the important communication and, in the case of an insurance claim, negotiation.
And Val, you hit on something there that I'd like to touch on. I'm involved in this industry nationwide. I've even helped draft some legislation. I testified before Louisiana Congress and Insurance Subcommittee back in December. And I would be lying if I told you that these insurance carriers treated everybody the same. All right. And I've noticed that, unfortunately, there is a disproportionate number of underpayments, and it often has to do with minority communities. And that's because culturally, sometimes the knowledge of navigating these situations is not as pervasive. The confidence of the consumer is not there, and they may not understand all of their rights the same way somebody else would. And it has to do with education, income levels, and demographics as far as race. And so, unfortunately, we have run into a lot of situations where our services are needed more in immigrant communities because insurance companies have seemingly taken advantage of the fact that that person is less likely to dispute what they're being told.
Well, that's not good to hear, but it's good to hear, if you know what I mean. Thanks for bringing that to light. So, a little upset, but okay.
He touched on one point, that just that confidence of being able to take the fight to them, so to speak.
Right.
Especially a company that's been in business for decades with billions of dollars at their disposal. How is little old homeowner or, apartment complex owner, strip mall owner, who are they to argue, right? Well, that's that burden that we take on them. When I leave from the studio here in a few moments, I'm headed to FedEx to send a communication to the Vice President of Claims for Amgard Insurance Company in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Right? We make sure that your cause is fought for, that your case is made to the insurance company.
That's great.
I'll do
So,
that for you.
so then the that comment just got me really.
No, listen. I mean,
Threw
there
me
should
off
be
a
us
little
out
bit.
there. I have been in tears out there in the field before, meeting with somebody, because sometimes behavior is so egregious. But you've got a company that's run by actuaries that are back there crunching the numbers, and they understand where they can squeeze and save money, because every dollar saved goes straight to profit.
Right. So, again, they need to get in contact with a public before making a claim or after making the claim?
It's really best before you make a claim, because strategically how you start that claim. Here's another thing I tell people. It's like when you're watching Cops, okay, and they arrest somebody and they say, anything you say can and will be used against you. We oftentimes come in long after the claim was filed, and we're trying to negotiate this claim successfully, but we're meeting a brick wall, and finally they tell us, well, the property owner told us she thought that crack was there before, or that there's been a previous leak, and it may not have been at all connected to this event, but because it was said, it went down in the claim file, and now they're going to use that as reasoning. So we know what to say and what not to say. We will never misrepresent facts, but we're not going to go say things that could work against us when they have little to no benefit for us.
So we talked about catastrophic events where busted pipes because of the winter, hurricanes. What about wind damage on roofs? Is that something that they should also look into with the public adjuster?
Absolutely. So oftentimes, let's say you have an apartment complex and you had a windstorm and a few shingles blew off. A lot of apartment owners have just decided, hey, we'll never get that covered on insurance. They've tried in the past. What they don't realize is that there are ways to argue that if a roof is not repairable, if the repair would cause more invasive damage to the area around it, then maybe it would be more reasonable to replace the roof in its entirety. We do that all the time with windstorms and get entire roofs replaced instead of a small repair, because we understand the proper arguments to make based on the manufacturer's specifications.
All right.
And just to make sure, it does not have to be some giant event that's happening all over the state here, like the ice storm we just had with all the pipes. This can be every day of life for any home at any time, or any property at any time.
Most commonly, it's hailstorms, right?
Right.
We're already in hail season. Look,
yes,
at
we
this
are.
recently.
Bad one in McKinney 2 weeks
So
ago.
that's one of the largest things that affects our area is hail. And
What if-
we work a lot of hail claims.
What if that wasn't immediately noticed? Say we're in a hail season now, you don't notice the leaks till a real bad rainstorm in July. Can you go back and if you're trying to replace your roof, call it an adjuster, even though nothing has happened during those 4 months prior to that event?
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
So a policy owes to replace for direct physical damage, or to repair or replace whatever is the appropriate method of repair for the type of damage, direct physical damage that occurred within a policy period. So you can have instances, there could be a situation where a property owner has their roof inspected and the damage is from 5 years ago when a different insurance company covered it. And that would possibly create a situation where you'd have to make a claim with that insurance company during that policy period. But in a situation like you just described where a hailstorm comes in March or April and they notice in July, 99% of the time that should not be an issue to file a claim then, because they filed as promptly. If the policy does say something about making prompt notification of damage, well, they filed as promptly as they found out. As soon as they don't climb on their roof every single day to inspect it. As soon as they had a qualified professional perform a roof inspection and realize there was some damage, well, they filed the claim appropriately.
Now, I'll tell you something that I commonly see, and this is, we work a lot in the multifamily space. So generally, they'll cover damage that goes back 2 years. That's the statute of limitations in Texas for this stuff. And it does depend on the policy. But let's say you have an apartment complex and you purchased it and it had a little bit of hail damage. Okay, a little bit. If you went up there and inspected, you could find some hail damage here and there. Then, while you own it, while you're paying insurance for it, another hailstorm comes and damages it. All right? Oftentimes, what we see happen is the insurance company will send an engineering firm out to identify that old hail and say the hail is old, it was before our policy period. But the truth is, they owe for that new damage. They insured it as it was. We're not claiming for that old damage. We're claiming for that new damage, and we'll oftentimes make them pay after they've already tried to deny it because we know that that happened during the policy period and should be covered.
So where they're not wrong 100% per se, they don't owe for the old damage, but they're manipulating the facts of the situation in their favor, as opposed to taking a frank assessment and saying, well, there's damage that occurred while we were covering the property here also, and we owe for whatever the appropriate method of repair for that damage is.
So there was 25% prior damage. Now there's 75%. They'll replace.
Or even if it was,
they would pay
even if it was
100%.
flip-flopped. Even if it was 75% old, 25% new.
True.
But they clearly owe for the new. And if the appropriate method of repair, as is oftentimes the case, is a full replacement, they'll pay for the 100%.
So who paid? I know you don't get paid till you win the claim, I guess, in your favor, in the homeowner's favor. So who pays you? Is it the insurance company? Is it the homeowner?
I wish it was the insurance company, but no, it comes out of the homeowner's settlement.
Okay.
Now, it's customary for a contractor, and of course, we understand going in where our numbers need to be to make sure that the homeowner isn't going to have to come out of pocket for our services. If that weren't the case, it would be a lot harder for us to find work, and less contractors would be referring us to other people. So it's customary for the contractor to absorb that amount. And we're going to make sure that the insurance company pays well for that repair. That way the contractor is still able to make money. The property owner doesn't have to come out of pocket any more than possibly their deductible.
Yeah.
So everybody walks away. It's a win-win-win.
All right. So that was great. This great segment, gentlemen. I really appreciate you coming in here today and giving our listeners a lot of information that's very needed. Some things that I didn't know of. How about you?
No, I thought it was awesome. I think people out there don't understand how everything works like this and how you really need somebody fighting for you in just every aspect of life. And everybody says, well, I have insurance, I'm going to be taken care of. But the problem is that's a whole nother issue. Yeah, you have insurance for when it happens, but you need insurance to make sure it gets taken care of on top of it, because it's very simple for people. I look at what you guys do and I think about my mother, myself. I think, okay, she would be completely happy if the insurance company came in and said, hey, look, we can get your house right back the way it was, and it's going to cost you, you got your deductible, and we're going to add like $7,000 to it. And she would be thrilled to it. And then it's not, but 4 or 5 years later that other things start breaking that go all the way back to this incident, and now she's going to be out of pocket for it because she had nobody to fight for her. She just had somebody to tell her, yeah, we're going to get it back to where it was, but not actually done correctly.
Right.
So you guys do
Thank you.
great for the community. Thank you guys.
Guys, thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
Thank you so
So
much.
if somebody had a question, well, thank you. If somebody has a question, maybe just trying to inquire or don't know where they need to go to or who to contact, how can they reach you?
You can contact us easily through our website, www.paradiseclaims.com, or you can call us at 800-419-3994. We're also very present on Facebook. I do a lot of social media education and content,
All right.
so they could reach out to us on Facebook at Paradise Claims as well.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, we always end the segment with asking a very important question. What does home ownership mean to you specifically?
For me, home ownership is owning a piece of the American dream.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I would say home ownership means freedom, in the sense that we've been able to own our home in a situation. It's been referred to as house hacking. We own a duplex and live in one side and rent the other.
I love house hacks.
Which that's given us a tremendous opportunity to be able to save and do it somewhat creatively, and giving us a lot of freedom in that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both, Matthew McDaniels and TJ Ware. Have a good afternoon, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
And coming after break, this week's HREBA member spotlight. You're going to want to stay tuned. Hey, this is Sal,
And this is Val.
host of the HREBA Show, Home Ownership, Hear It From the Experts.
Broadcasting live each week on Tuesdays at 2 to 3 p.m. from the Fishbowl Radio Network studios at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas.
Log on to hear from industry experts such as realtors, loan officers, title agents, and other real estate-related professionals who will provide you important information if you're looking to buy your first home or if you're looking to sustain your current home.
So be sure to log on each week on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. to catch the HREBA Show.
Saludos, soy Olga Ríos de HREBA Show. Sintonícenos en español cada tercer martes del mes de 2 a 3 de la tarde. ¿Desea obtener información sobre la compra de una casa o retención de su actual vivienda? Tendremos invitados especiales expertos sobre una diversidad de temas en bienes raíces, tales como financiación hipotecaria, asistencia de enganche, cómo mejorar su crédito y demás temáticas. Así que únete a nosotros, conéctate a HREBA Show en español cada tercer martes de 2 a 3. ¡Los esperamos!
Hi, I'm Sal. I'm the host of the HREBA Show, Home Ownership, Hear It From the Experts, on the Fishbowl Radio Network every Tuesday from 2 to 3. I've been a loan officer for the past 25 years.
And I'm Val Garcia. I've been a real estate broker for the last 10 years, and I'm co-hosting.
Saludos, I'm Olga Ríos. I have experience in real estate investments for the past 11 years and have served my community as a realtor for nearly 5 years.
Here on the HREBA Show, we'll be bringing you information if you're looking to sustain your home, looking to purchase a home, or if you're trying to prepare to buy a home.
On the HREBA Show, we'll be bringing you experts every week in all aspects of real estate, everything from home warranty companies to loan officers to home inspectors to help guide you along the way.
So no need to fear. We are here to provide a wealth of information for you. Join us Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Saludos, soy Olga Ríos, anfitriona de HREBA Show en español. Sintonícenos cada tercer martes del mes a las 2 de la tarde. Mi familia ha invertido en bienes raíces por los últimos 11 años y yo he servido a mi comunidad como agente inmobiliaria por casi 5 años. Deseo obtener más información.
You're listening to the HREBA Show, Home Ownership, Hear It From the Experts, live from Fishbowl Radio Network at Globe Life Park, Arlington, Texas, the American Dream City. My name is Salvador Villalobos, your host, and co-hosting with me today is
Val Garcia.
Hey Val, how's it going? So, I am so proud today to introduce our this week's HREBA member spotlight. And that member, if you don't know, is Olga Ríos. Hola, Olga. How are you doing?
How are you, Sal and Val? I'm doing great.
The Sal and Val Show.
Wait,
Be
Olga,
here.
is it weird to be speaking English today?
It is actually because I'm used to running the show on every third Tuesday in Spanish. So this is
What do you
bizarre.
mean? What do you mean? You run what show?
The third Tuesday of the month, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, Olga Rios is our hostess of the REBA show in Spanish. You said every third.
Third Tuesday, 2 to 3 p.m. That is correct.
Thank you for bringing such great information. So what do you do on the show? What do you talk about? What do
So
you discuss?
We want to make sure that we bring valuable information to our listeners in Spanish. So we just started the show in January, and I'm so grateful to REBA and to you, Sal, for allowing some space, right, to carve out, that
Whoa,
for our
Al,
Spanish
she just threw
community.
you under the bus. man.
She is the
No, it's a
brain,
wonderful
the
opportunity.
mastermind behind the REBA show in Spanish, which was very much needed because you're bringing
Yes.
some great information to our Spanish-speaking community, which may not know a lot of the information that's out there for them.
Correct. So we wanted to make it as accessible as possible. So we run it through the radio show and Facebook Live as well. And so if you're listening to us, I know sometimes you have many questions, whether it's real estate related, and in this case, insurance claims,
Right.
which we just went through that winter freeze last month. So
Right.
there's a lot of questions, a lot of pending cases out there. So it's really great and valuable information to bring forward. And I'm glad that now we're able to present it in Spanish as well.
Right. So audience, if you have family members, friends, or neighbors that speak Spanish and that's their primary language, have them tune in every third Thursday from 2 to 3 and listen to Olga, la profesora. So Olga is, in 1 year, a year ago in January, she was invited to a luncheon by one of our other spotlighted members, Vanessa Romero. She was invited to go to our luncheon. I was fortunate enough to sit next to her, I remember. And within a week's time, she became a member. She joined the community outreach committee. Thank you. And from there, a few days later, she was at one of our community outreach events where there was about a couple of thousand people. And
Yes.
we were out there.
Talk about one of the first events to participate in, right? But it was amazing, and it was very eye-opening as well as to how many people we can reach and make a difference in their lives, right? And in the choices that they're going to make moving forward when it comes to one of the major investments in their lives. And yes, Ms. Vanessa Romero has been a very influential person in my life, and she's amazing. Yes, so I'm grateful for that opportunity, for her to have invited me.
Right.
The rest is history.
The
right?
rest is all you. So what made you, just from the get-go, sign up as a member? I mean, you did a whole bunch in 1 week than most of us do in a year or two.
You know what it is, Sal? I moved here from Long Island, New York, about 5.5 years ago, and for many years, my business took off immediately. I was in real estate investments initially for the first 2.5 years. In fact, I was working real estate without a license, which was fine, as an investor. And at some point, it felt very transactional. And it doesn't matter how much money you make, what the profit is. If you're not happy, none of that money matters. And I have a radically different background. I have a PhD in Latin American studies, and so therefore I was very much accustomed to the classroom and being surrounded by many students and people and the collaborations. And I was also very highly involved in and key in organizing or creating a nonprofit organization in Long Island that worked with immigrant students, regardless of immigration status. And so we worked at the local, national, and global levels. So I traveled quite extensively. And so therefore, when I came to Texas, I felt, in a sense, isolated. I felt that there was something missing. I didn't feel connected. I felt like I was working for myself, but having that background of serving others, it almost seemed empty to just work on my behalf. And so I was so hungry and determined to find a nonprofit organization where I can help and be of service to others. And hence comes in HREBA. I'm so grateful because you have been my family. And I think I really was yearning to be part of that and to be part of the community at large.
So, being like an older brother, I antagonize you a lot. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, that is true, people. If you're listening to this, no better truth than that.
So you found HREBA, and it's like a family. That's great. But
It
what
is
made
my
you
family.
get? It is your family. But what makes you want to be so involved with the community? So involved. I mean, what do you? Besides the family aspect of it, what else do you? How do you benefit from it? I mean, honestly,
Right.
all the time that you're put into the organization.
Well, you mentioned the key word again, right? Family. It all comes back to your roots.
Mhm.
And my family is my everything. My parents, I think their experience really led me to my why, my purpose. And I never lose sight of that purpose. And I know that there are other people who have gone through similar experiences. And the gentleman that was here, TJ, and Matt, they just pinpointed something similar, right? Sometimes in the Hispanic communities, there's lack of information, resources, or people just taking advantage
Right.
of them, right? So my parents moved here, it must have been like 2009 from California. They bought a house, but they knocked on the door because the listing agent didn't want to show them the house. She's like, no, it kept bringing up excuses for it. And so they finally just knocked on the door and said, we're really interested in your home, sellers. Do you mind if we tour it? And, they had a sizable down payment. I think it was like a 40% down payment. And even then, the listing agent didn't want to show them the house. And so the sellers were in shock. It's like, really? We have been available. I mean, it's open for showings, for home tours. So both parties were shocked. They went in, toured the home, fell in love with it. It backs up to a state park. It's just beautiful. It has a creek behind it. But they were amongst the first Latinos in that neighborhood. I live in Arlington. And so they placed an offer, and of course, they got accepted. And at the closing table, they didn't get the keys. In fact, it took them 2 weeks to get the keys delivered to them. Finally, my brother said, call the listing agent. If you are not here within an hour to deliver those keys, we are going to turn you in. Immediately, an hour later, they got their keys. And I think that is one of my biggest whys, because I know that there's so many people that go through that, and I want to make sure that I'm giving a first-class experience to all of my clients, especially those, that have a language barrier. I want to make sure that I serve them in the same manner I would my English speakers.
Right. That's great.
I think you're touching on something that's so important for people out there to know. Just because you don't have the same language or the same traditions or anything else, that does not make you any less qualified.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people feel that, I don't fit in, I don't know what I'm doing, and they kind of shy down instead of standing up and saying, let me find someone who can help me, and let me find someone who's going to benefit me and take care of me. So love what you're doing out there, Olga.
Yes, well, Val, touching on that, actually, my parents have always been very confident yet humble peoples. My father, was a big radio personality, musician, had his own band, traveled quite extensively. My mother was a business owner in Los Angeles also. And so they've always been go-getters. I've learned tremendously from them. They're my biggest role models. And coming here, they just didn't give up. They had that fighting spirit. Like, we're going to get this house because we love this house. Had that listing agent been smart enough, they bought multiple investment properties thereafter, duplexes, and are landlords now. And, now I get to help them as they get rid of their portfolio and they're in their retirement years.
Right.
So never judge a book by its cover.
Never.
Right? That agent could
No.
lost so much business throughout the years.
One of my biggest clients came from a $59,000 condo for a new lady that nobody wanted to take care of because it was such a small dollar amount with the novice buyer. And she goes, but you have to go through my dad. And I got the feeling after talking to him that he was an attorney, and sure enough, he was. Because at closing, he's like, "Sal, you took such good care of my daughter. You didn't take any crap from me, and I threw it purposely. I want to work with you. I want to buy this condo myself. This other one, it was 1.8. So after that, over the years, so you always treat
Correct.
everybody the same, not because there's something else behind it, but because it is your job to do that. We're a fiduciary.
Absolutely.
We're fiduciaries. We have a responsibility to every single client to try to do our best.
Indeed.
So whether it's English, whether you make $1 million, where you make 20,000, it doesn't matter. You take
Correct.
everybody the same way.
That is correct. Whether it's affordable luxury housing, I mean, we treat everybody in the same manner,
same.
with the same
Absolutely.
respect and level of service. Yes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
So what made you join?
My mom and dad.
Yeah.
Al's getting some of his own medicine right now.
I know. She's turning it around. So what is your favorite event that HREBA has done so far that you've participated in?
I feel like I haven't been part of HREBA long enough. I mean, it's only been a year for me, and
A COVID year on top of that, so
on
it really
top
changes
of that,
it.
so we really have
Yeah.
been a little bit more restricted.
But I see you
Honestly,
everywhere.
I have the same feeling as you, Olga.
My face is everywhere, right? I really enjoy it. Honestly, I really enjoy it. I enjoy the camaraderie. I think we all come from different brokerages, and yet we work beautifully together, right? And I think that's what I love about it. I love being part of the board because, gosh, the level of talent is just amazing, and I was yearning that also. And so it's been a wonderful experience, great learning experience for me. I love La Sanse, of course. Right before the pandemic hit, I made it out there. Sal, I saw you there very briefly. I had a long day, but I love the, community coming together, celebrating, and at the same time learning.
Right. So it was a great opportunity. If you have it's every January. So it's Sanse. It's the it somewhat replicates the Puerto Rican festival, the holiday, the Christmas festival that runs almost a whole month. So Fiesta de San Sebastián, I believe it's called. So,
Correct.
And they just bring that feeling, and it's actually here right next door at Texas Live, and it's just been growing. That's where.
So I should go say hello.
You
see?
should. So yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed of not just because you are a go-getter, and now I know why, because you explained where you get that from, but that you're bringing that to our organization. I mean, you're like Leticia said earlier. I mean, with the smiles, you were saying, which portrait should I put? You're always smiling. She's like, didn't she say that? You're always smiling. You should put the one that's you're smiling in.
Yes. One was so
headshot.
serious, and I said, I don't know. I look too
That's not
serious.
you. That's not you. Yeah.
I didn't feel that was, conveying who I am either.
Yeah, no. But and that's you. You're always happy. You're always happy to help somebody. Like you said, we're like family. Even though we're in different companies, when we get together, it's like we're one big company.
Yes.
And really, it's one big family. So that's awesome. Well, so tell us what HREBA means to you. Not home ownership, HREBA.
Wow, HREBA means caring.
Mm-hmm.
It means community, which is a big part of what I stand for. It means convivio, which is not, yes, you serve, but you coexist, right? It means that we're there for one another. That's what it represents to me.
That's fantastic. So now my next question. What does home ownership mean to you?
Oh, wow, that's a very loaded question for me, given that I've lived in so many states and countries, right? It means, again, convivio.
Mm-hmm.
It means family. But also, I just remember communities, revitalization, right? It's a place of coming together, revitalizing, re-energizing, coming alive. My parents' home has always been that center, right? That party central, as we call it. And it's kind of sad now to think about it. My parents have been in Mexico, in their home in Mexico since the pandemic. It's just safer for them out there, and I've sort of like taken over their home now. And so we've rearranged our lives around that, but that's out of love. So that's what home means ultimately. I've also traveled quite extensively to other countries where we made sure that we were contributing to indigenous communities, whether it was the Purépecha in Michoacán, Mexico, the Shuar in the Amazonian region, or, Zaragoza in Ecuador. I mean, it was about contributing to those communities and contributing to their revitalization. So that's what home ownership means to me, and that's what home means to me.
Fantastic. So you have a question, Mel? Looked like you wanted to say something.
No, we just want to say thank you for taking on not only the third Tuesday of every month, but for just being part of the organization. We need people like you everywhere,
So what would you tell somebody if they're out there and they're on the fence about joining or don't know where to or how to join or should they join? What would you say to them?
Do it.
I say you have to follow your heart. Really contribute to your community because the community needs us, right? They need us. They need our services. They need our resources. Anything that we can share, and if we can be a part of that, it's an amazing feeling. To me, it was a no-brainer. I had to, and I think if you find it in your heart to do it, please do. Don't be afraid. We're not that scary, right? So don't be afraid. And I just wanted to thank you two because you've been amazing, with hosting the radio shows and the entire HREBA community and organization. I mean, I think I'm so grateful.
And we're grateful to have you as not only a member, but one of the board directors on the board, as well as the host, and just taking that on and just con mucho éxito.
Muchas gracias.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Here at the HREBA Show, we serve you by providing information about home ownership as you prepare for home ownership or to sustain your home. It is important for us that you have all of the information and tools that you may need to make an informed financial decision and become a loyal fan of the HREBA Show.
We are the Hispanic Real Estate Brokers Association, a registered 501(c)(3) nonprofit corporation. We've been streaming live on Facebook at The HREBA Show. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter at The HREBA Show. This episode is available as a podcast on The HREBA Show page at fbrn.us and at the HREBAconnect.org. If you have a specific question or comments, you may email us at the HREBA Show at HREBAconnect.org. One last thing, Sal.
Yes.
I know I'm kind of breaking up here. I had an insurance person contact me through the show. They were listening to the show today, and they wanted to make sure people had this information as well. Sheila Charles sent me a message that said, make sure that the people know that they should review their insurance policy with the claims adjuster or their insurance agent, to understand what coverages they do have in their home. Because a lot of times what she's saying is people don't have enough coverage, and a lot of this stuff that's going on right now is not being covered. So
Thank Sheila, you said?
Sheila. Yeah.
Thank you, Sheila, so much for your information. Greatly received. Again, I am Salvador Villalobos, your host, co-hosting with me today.
Val Garcia.
Thank you for listening. Have a great afternoon. We'll catch you next week from 2 to 3 p.m. Take care.
Thank you.